Hey everybody, BeyondDrewTV here. Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another animal habitat speed build video. For today's video, as you could tell from the title and everything like that, we're going to go ahead and do an orangutan habitat speed build video today. And this was a really fun one to do. This was a different kind of thing that I've done in Planet Zoo. I haven't done any primates or apes or anything like that. Anything that can climb, really. I haven't done since the beta. In beta we had a lemur habitat, but that was pretty much all we did as far as things that could climb. So this is a fun little, actually it's pretty much a challenge, trying to get the enclosure and the habitat to kind of work correctly as far as like the climbing mechanics and stuff like that go. This was like my first real big introduction slash like kind of testing of the climbing mechanics there. So yeah, as we're going through here, you can kind of see that we're going to be using a lot of water for this one. And this habitat is based off of the orangutan habitat at the Dublin Zoo. It's not a direct recreation. Some of the past habitat speed build videos have been a little bit of a recreation, like the elephant one from the Oregon Zoo and the lion habitat. Those were both pretty well off recreations from concept art. This was not so much. I know I had a general idea in my head of wanting to make like a, I know they're not monkeys, but monkey island kind of thing, or primate island, I guess you'd say, where just you'd have primates or anything like that kind of going between different islands somehow and stuff like that. So I was kind of doing some research on Google there. I know a lot of people ask, where do I get my inspiration from? And most of it's just from Google or Google Maps or anything like that. If you just, again, search in, like for me, I searched, I literally think I typed in like orangutan habitat zoo. And then, you search and then you go to images and then it brings up a bunch of stuff. And so I found this, again, from the Dublin Zoo. A few photos came up of their orangutan habitat there and it looked amazing. Just kind of exactly what I was thinking. So again, took a lot of inspiration from that. And yeah, it's really cool to kind of have to mess with the climbing mechanics. There's a lot of this video that I had to kind of cut out, and it was a little bit tough to get this. What do we have, like 15 minutes or so? It was kind of tough to get this 15 minutes to be pretty cohesive and coherent, just because, again, messing with the climbing mechanics was a bit of a bummer almost, to be honest with you. There's a tab that you can tick that you can put on just climbable objects. So just objects, again, that animals can kind of get up and kind of climb on and stuff like that, just the way it sounds. So I'd kind of tick that on. And the whole thing that we're doing with the climbing, I haven't even mentioned this, I forgot, is that we're trying to get the orangutans to go across the pathway by using basically like old dry rot rock, or not dry rot, just like old logs basically. And then there's supposed to be like a vine or a rope that goes between the two logs over the pathway, and I'm sure you saw that again in the the cinematic video there and everything. So, but to do that, we weren't able to use the vines for some reason. I would be kind of building and using all the climbable stuff, and I put the vines on there, and you hit H or go to you'll see the heat map is going to come up a lot because I have to check where the orangutans can go and if they can escape and stuff. But anyways, it would show that the orangutans could climb on the vines and certain other objects too, but then when I would build it and it would show that they would be able to climb on them with the little green sensor or whatever on there, they wouldn't do it, and it wouldn't show that they could cross. So it was really kind of it got aggravating after a little bit, because the game is sitting here telling you, yes, these primates, these orangutans can definitely climb this. Absolutely. But then it shows that they can't get across, even though they can climb it. So it was just a lot of going back and forth trying to figure out, what's going on with the climbing mechanics. Why won't they climb on these objects that they say are climbable? And I don't know. It's a little bit of a confusing system to me. Still, I did eventually get it figured out. What I figured out is that they can't use the vines, which is kind of a big bummer, but we could still, you'll see here, we put the climbing poles basically. So I'm kind of curious, maybe those of you that have messed with the climbing mechanics a bit more, used a lot of different primates and stuff like that, is it just maybe a orangutan thing where they can't use the vines per se because they're too heavy? And if that's the case, then it should be a stipulation where it just kind of says like, hey, all primates except for the orangutan and the gorillas or something like that can use the vines or something. So yeah, that was just a little bit frustrating, but also it was good to learn too. It's good to learn because I'm definitely gonna be doing some more for our habitat speed builds. We're gonna be doing more monkeys and like I said, gorillas and chimpanzees, you name. We're gonna be doing all the fun climbing animals there. So but in the build here, what we're doing is we're just adding, it's a pretty simple building, that's why I haven't really talked about it too much, but this is the indoor area where our orangutans could go and hang out, kind of get away from people if they would like to, you know. So we kind of did this with the lion habitat. So if you haven't seen the lion habitat speed build video, and the elephant one, actually, we did it both. I'm trying to incorporate this in all the builds that I do. But anyways, just the idea of letting the animals, you know, get away and de-stress, basically, and not having to be watched constantly by the guests, or kind of or be on stage. That's what we used to, when I used to work at Disney, it'd be called, you know, on stage, or basically when you're on work, you know, you're not on a break. you're out and about, and the guests can see you. You're on stage. So same thing with the orangutans here. I almost view their exhibit or habitat, or whatever you want to call it, as their, you know, on stage or on exhibit kind of time. And then in this kind of square building here, this kind of just industrial looking building almost, you know, that's their backstage area, or their home, basically. They're where they can hang out, and they would probably have their feeding time, you know, their normal feeding time back here and everything. And there's a bunch of play areas and stuff. This isn't fully fleshed out in Thornton Hills Zoo. If you're not watching that, Thornton Hills Zoo is like my big zoo that I'm building for the channel right now. For Thornton Hills Zoo, we'll do a lot more fleshed out interiors and stuff like that for the primate houses that we have. And what I mean by that is just doing like the holding cells, and, you know, the transfer areas, and like the habitat, or not the habitat, the enrichment areas. So there's just there's a lot that goes into the interior of like a primate type house, or where you hold the primates and stuff like that. And again, I didn't get fully into it. Kind of had the, like, we have the idea of it here, right? You have the building, we have the kind of play area where they can hang out, we have where they can sleep and stuff inside there, and they use it to get away from guests and stuff like that. So yeah, this is kind of our take on that. But here we're moving on to what I was hinting at and talking about before. Now you're not gonna see me mess with the vines here, because this is the second iteration of this entire I guess build here. The first one I did, it was again, I was messing with trying to figure out how the orangutans worked as far as the climbing goes, and getting them across the different islands and stuff like that. And it eventually, I had to just scrap it, which is for the best. I've done this a few times with Planet Zoo, which is kind of fun to do, because I'm just kind of learning new things about the game, and improving my design skills and all that with when it comes to zoos. So, but yeah, I've done this a few times where I've kind of jumped in the next day and just been like, it's not working. It's just not working. And I could sit there and fiddle around with it for hours on end, trying to make it work. But it's like, you know, sometimes you just got to scrap it. I've seen a few people talk about this on different Discord servers, where they're just like, oh, maybe if I fix this and do this and rearrange this, and everyone's just like, no, you started wrong, right? And I've done this too in Thornton Hills Zoo, like the North American section. I have to redo a lot of that because I started wrong. So yeah, a lot of these big full-scale builds here, you know, similar to like this or Thornton Hills Zoo or any big habitat builds, you really got to plan ahead. And for that first iteration, that first build I did that we're not seeing, but you know, I just didn't plan ahead, and it was a good thing I did it, just again because I kind of jumped in, and the footage that you're seeing here really flowed really nicely. It was nice to kind of have that general idea and the general know-how of the mechanics after fiddling around with it for several hours in the old save file, to kind of come over here to this new save file and just jump in and, you know, just kind of hit the ground running kind of thing there. So yeah, so that's a kind of recommendation to some people. If you're feeling like it's not working, it's probably not working, and just redo it. You know, I know it's a bummer, especially if you've been working on something for 2, 3, sometimes 4 hours. You know, it's definitely a freaking bummer to have to make the realization that, yep, nope, I need to restart. But sometimes it's best to do that. So here's our first viewing area here. There are 2 viewing areas that we have here. They're both modeled after the same building, just kind of modified slightly. Forgot I added that. One of the big things to note from the building here is the Sup Bruh, which is made by Mr. Domez. We mentioned Mr. Domez in the last episode of Thornton Hills Zoo there, because he's making some amazing street stuff, backstage kind of stuff. And back in the beta, we had a good laugh during a live stream of the orangutan sign. If you haven't seen the orangutan sign, there it is right there. The orangutan picture that they used in game, it just looks so smug, or maybe just like so carefree. It's just like, sup bruh. So Mr. Domez, being the art piece magician that he is, went ahead and made a little like comic book bubble there for him. So, and I kind of forgot that I had it from beta. Again, he made that in beta, and it was saved as a blueprint, and blueprints transferred over from beta. So I just kind of thought that was perfect to put in front there for for the front of our little entrance house, or our little viewing place there. So again, we do one more of these viewing houses. I literally just copy and pasted over across the lake. You'll see that in just a few minutes there. But yeah, we don't really do too much additions to it, just kind of modify it slightly. But yeah, that's a nice thing to do too if you haven't thought about doing that. I know a lot of people want to build a custom building, or a brand new building for every single little thing. But hey, sometimes if you have a structure that's working, you can duplicate it over and kind of refit it, repurpose it. Ask SDN Wolf. SDN does it all the time, and he's amazing at it. He'll build one structure, and then he'll repurpose that structure throughout his zoos and theme parks and stuff like that over and over again, and just kind of retheme them and redo them up a little bit. But he'll take that base structure that he really, really likes and just kind of redo it. So it's a good idea to work with. Really save yourself some headache and time and stuff like that. So, but yeah, here we go as we're going through here, kind of wrapping up the build all together. Just as we're kind of getting putting the rocks in and stuff like that, had a lot more issues with. There you go, see me kind of checking on the where they can traverse and stuff like that. But you had a lot of problems putting the rocks in because I forgot that the orangutans could jump up onto the boulders and the rocks and stuff like that, and kind of jump around and jump over to the side. Yeah, there's a lot I think I mentioned this before, but there was a lot I had to cut out of this. I think I spent more time cutting and editing this video than I have for a lot of videos in a long time, just because again the orangutans kept escaping, and I just had to take so much time to figure out how to make them not escape and stuff like that. So here's the last little detail that we're adding on to the build here, and of course it has to be a waterfall, of course. So this is a pretty simple waterfall here, just kind of a rock structure around it, and it's a double-sided waterfall. You'll see on the opposite side here, kind of made use of this little corner here. Didn't really have an idea right off the bat for it, but we had enough of room there to kind of dig down and make a little waterfall on the backside there. So nice little double-sided waterfall makes for some very nice views and everything there. So yeah, not too much to talk about there. So nice little nice waterfall. So, and then earlier, last thing I'll mention before the time lapse wraps up there, we did add a little bit of theming. I didn't go for like a full-on like Asian theme, I guess you'd say, but since the orangutans are, I'm pretty sure, if I remember from the Zoopedia and stuff, they are from Asia altogether. So we did do a little bit of the Asian theming, and a lot of it was just kind of ruin work. You kind of saw I put down some of those East Asian like ruin pillars or something. I think that's what they're called, as like a wall set, and just a few little sticking up stone pillars and stuff like that. So just kind of giving hints that this area is a little bit older and has some little ruins and stuff. And there's a few little outcrop buildings with just like the Jeep around it, and just some vegetables and stuff. So just a little bit of like light to minor theming, but there's no like overarching or overall huge theme to it overall. So but overall, that's overall. I did overall 3 times in like less than 30 seconds. That was great. Anyways, that's that's pretty much gonna go and wrap it up here. We just kind of add in a few more little fencing details and a lot more foliage to kind of wrap up the area, but that's gonna go ahead and do it. So hey, if you've made it this far in the video, comment below, let me know what the next animal should be that we do for our habitat speed build. Don't forget, we've done the saltwater crocodile, the elephants, the African elephants, the Western African lion, and now the orangutan. So what should be the next animal that we go ahead and do a habitat speed build for? And yeah, that's again, that's gonna go ahead and do it. So hey, thanks so much everyone for hanging out. I do appreciate it as always. And yeah, until the next habitat speed build video, y'all have a good one. Thanks so much.